Welcome all of you. So once again we are here with some important concepts for MCQs. Not just MCQ, they can be useful for MCQ, they can be useful for your regular sums also. Very important points which I have noted generally go wrong. I am trying to just show them once again to y'all so that so that y'all are careful next time you do this sum, you don't do these mistakes. Okay, so quickly go through these points and make a note of them, because these are the points where you always go wrong. I think 60 to 70% of the students go wrong at these points, so please note them down. Let's start. So here firstly we will talk about scale factor questions. Okay, scale factor, where does it come? Scale factor questions come in similarity. Okay, what are scale factor sums? They talk about one model ship, okay, one model ship and one actual ship, and they give a ratio between the model ship and the actual ship. Okay, now they maybe give you the ratio between the length of the model and the actual, and then they ask you what is the ratio between the area of the two ships. They'll ask what is the ratio between the volume of the two ships, things like that. Now here I want to tell you something, big confusion. This is, see, whenever, supposing you are trying to find the volume of the model ship. Okay, firstly, if you are trying to find the volume of the model ship, here you are writing volume of model, volume of ship. Okay, volume of model, volume of ship, and then you have put a scale factor. Okay, you have done a scale factor. This is 1 by let's say 1 by 15. Okay, something like that. Okay, we are not bothered about the scale factor, and you have written a scale factor 1 by 15 cube. Okay, the scale factor has to be cubed, so you can, even if it is volume, you can even write the cube here. Okay, now if your volume of the ship, supposing the volume of the ship is given to you, is provided to you as let's say 1000 meter cube, let's say 1000 meter cube. What is the unit here? Meter. Then be careful, your model, after doing this question, your model ship's unit, okay, volume of the model, supposing it comes to, let's say, 10, just giving an example, it has nothing to do with the sum. Okay, 10, value comes to a 10 after doing the sum, then that 10 is also in meter cube. Okay, it can also come in a points in decimal number. Okay, so that is also in meter cube. Remember that. So what people think is, okay, model will come in centimeter and actual ship in meter. No, if you have used it as a ratio and you have treated this as an unknown, then this is going to come in meter cube only. Later on, if you want, you can change that meter cube to centimeter cube. Okay, so that is always the same thing applies if they have given this in centimeter cube and this one in, you are trying to find, then remember the actual ship's volume has also come automatically in centimeter cube. Okay, so you have to change it to meter cube and give it as the answer. So another thing in scale factor only is very commonly mistake is done is if they are talking about length, that is length of the ship to length of the model. Okay, so length of the ship to length of the model, then length of the ship will always go length of ship to length of model. If supposing they have given these two values and I have written length of ship above and length of model down, okay, then remember always that if they have given the ratio as 1:15, supposing, then 15 will always go on top. This is common sense, but still people forget. 15 will always go on top and 1 has to come down. Okay, so always the actual thing, okay, if it is from Chennai to Calcutta distance, that actual distance will come for the bigger ratio, and the distance in the map will come in smaller ratio. So always it can even be 2:15. Okay, even if it is 2:15, then you get a 2 for the model and not for the ship. So wherever you write the model, accordingly beside it write the 2. Wherever you write the length of the ship, beside it write the bigger value. whatever bigger value it is. Okay, another thing is whenever they talk about length, okay, whenever they talk about, for these reasons, you know, people leave out scale factor questions but scale factor questions carry a lot of marks, you can't leave them. Okay, so another thing is when it comes to length between two, between a model and the actual ship or whatever, okay, a house and its model, whatever, okay, then if it is length, then this is length of model, length of, let's say, ship, then you can use you use 1 is to 15, let's say this is the given ratio. Same sum if you are using for area, now there is a lot of formula, I really, then they call it K, then they give you 3 different formulae. It is a very simple concept. If area of model by area of ship is given, then you have to write 1 square by 15 square clearly. Okay, so this is area of ship, it gets the bigger number. And if it is volume, okay, if it is volume of model by volume of ship, then again it is 1 cube by 15 cube. Okay, so if you have a 2 here, then also this is 2 square and that is 2 cube. Okay, so the K is, this is plain K you use, here you use K square and here you use K cube. That is what I want to tell you. Okay, not to be forgotten. And forget about all formulae. Very simple thing is length of the model by length of the ship, 1 is to 15, 1 has to go to the model. Length of the area of the model to area of the ship has to come in squares, volume has to come in cubes. Okay, so now here is another, we already talked about the units, we talked about the cubing and the squaring, and we also talked about which will go up and which will go down. Now let's talk about BPT, basic proportionality theorem, and similarity. Yes, your BPT is in your BPT. There's a lot of confusion in this chapter, I know that. Okay, people are getting confused again and again. They close the textbook, they are confused. Okay, so they can't figure it out where what is happening. Now the reason is you have to have things in your mind very clear. BPT, basic proportionality theorem, also called Thales theorem. Here is similarity. Similarity is in the chapter similarity you get BPT, but let's see the differences. Okay, very clearly we'll talk about the differences. First we'll talk about similarity. If I have two triangles here, okay, if I have two triangles, see they are not of the same size. Okay, so here if P, Q, I'm writing the lengths A, B and C, then there are two things. If the two triangles, they have told that the two triangles are similar, then there are two rules which automatically come. One is ratio of the corresponding sides, ratio of corresponding sides are equal and angles are equal. Okay, corresponding angles are equal. So this angle, maybe if this is corresponding, it will be equal, and this angle equal to this, maybe this angle equal to this. So depends on how the triangles are similar. Now ratio of corresponding sides are equal, and this comes automatically from similarity. That means P by A, let's say, is R by B maybe, okay, and Q by C. Maybe, because I don't know how the triangles are similar. So I'm just telling you, you must have seen this kind of a rule. Okay, now from this we come to this figure. Now see, here is where the confusion, when you have two different figures, there is no confusion. But the confusion starts when you have this figure. Yes, when you have this figure, then the confusion starts. Now, whenever a sum comes like this, first thing you forget to prove similarity, you straight go to the sides, and now you have a very little idea of whether you are using similarity or whether you are using BPT. Now here I want to tell you, if they have only told you these two lines are parallel, then go for this. These two angles are equal by corresponding, and so therefore triangle, let me name A, B, C, M, N, let's say. Okay, then in that case, triangle ABC is similar to triangle is similar to triangle AMN. Okay. So these two are similar. Why? By AA property they are similar. Okay. Now what will you apply in this to do your sum? Here what you will apply is AB by AM. Now see, I have taken this much by this full thing. Okay. And then AC by AN. Just see. And the third one is BC by MN. This is the rule that I am taking from similarity. So whole by whole side, whole by whole side, whole side, third side also taken, and I can use this. Okay. But if now the question is if now the question is a little different, means you have to do a sum where maybe they have just given a triangle like this and parallel lines, and then they have told this part is equal to, okay, A, B, C, M, N. Now in this they have maybe talked about this part is a 10 and this part is a maybe 15, something like that. Okay, they have told BM is 15 and AB is 10, and they have asked you to find this side. Okay, so if they have told only this much, you have to apply Thales theorem. Okay, you have to apply Thales theorem where you can only say that AB by BM is equal to AC by CN. You can say that, you can substitute the values here and maybe you can get the ratio between this and this. Okay, but then you cannot straight go to this side, the third side, because Thales theorem does not talk about the third side at all. It only says if the ratio if the lines are parallel, the ratio between these two parts is equal to the ratio between these two parts. So if it is Thales, you can work only part by part. See, I have worked part by part. Here I have worked whole by whole. So you can work only part by part. Okay, and you cannot work unless you have proved similarity between these two triangles, which is possible. You cannot work on BC and MN at all. You cannot bring it in the picture unless you have proved similarity. That comes only when you have told clearly that the two triangles are similar. So Thales theorem or BPT is just a shortcut. It is just a shortcut for you where without proving similarity you say by BPT and immediately you get the ratio between these two sides. Okay, and you can do that only when they are not asking for these two. But if you want to involve BC and MN also in your sum, then please solve similarity first, otherwise your marks will be deducted. Okay, so first prove similarity like I have proved here by AA property. You have to say this angle is equal to this angle is equal to this. You have to write, not draw in the diagram only. Okay, and then after that you say by AA property ABC similar to AMN. Then touch the third side. Okay, I hope I am understood. Okay, let's come to that much for similarity. Let's come to mensuration. What I have to tell you for mensuration. Now mensuration, there is a very small thing, but again it is done, a mistake is done. If you have a sphere and you have a hollow sphere, supposing it's a shell, okay, then if they talk about anything, they are melting it, okay, they are melting it, then don't forget to take the volume of only this, which is 4/3 pi capital R cube minus 4/3 pi small r cube. You are going to do that. Okay, if they are melting it and using it to make cones, whatever. Okay, but then if they are saying how much of water can be filled, both are hollow spheres, remember. But if they are talking about capacity somewhere, in some way, how much of water can be filled, how much of chocolate was inside this Ferrero Rocher, something like this, capacity, then you have to take 4/3 pi only small r cube. It applies for cylinder also. Okay, so you have to apply only 4/3 pi r cube, because in that case we are talking about only this much space and we are not talking about the volume of the shell. So volume of a hollow cylinder is mistaken. volume of cylinder, sphere, whatever, volume of a solid, please look into it carefully because it is mistaken. Volume of material used is different and inside volume is different. For inside volume it is very simple, take the smaller radius. For outside volume, do this. Okay, so you can check my other videos, you will find lots of sums. I will share one video only for shortcuts of mensuration, how you can do mensuration sums like this. You know, they just take 2 minutes to do and you get 4 marks. Okay, so I'll be sharing a video very soon. Please check the channel and you'll get that. Okay, so that was again another thing, volume of a solid and volume of a shell, substance, material used to make a shell and all that. Let's talk about a tent. All the time, if you will have a tent in cones, okay, so whenever you have a tent, in that case, remember the floor area of the tent, when they are buying cloth, the floor area and surface area, this is not considered unless mentioned. So for a tent, how much of cloth do you need? How much of cloth do you need? Only pi RL. Okay, only pi RL. But then if they are saying that the floor of the tent will also have cloth, then do pi r square with it, which is this area. Okay, so whenever you have a toy, you know, there's a very common thing to take a toy, yes, and you are painting this toy and it has a cone in one side. Combination figures are very common in ICSE. Then don't involve this. Okay, neither for the cylinder nor for the cone. Don't involve this neither for the sphere nor for the cylinder. Okay, all you have to take is the curved surface area of all three. Okay, none of the pi r squares come in the picture. Okay, now one last thing from shares and dividends, that is, you all keep forgetting this. Dividend, when you calculate dividend, now I am really not in favor of formulae, lots of formulae. I practically don't give any importance to that. Dividend of few shares is always calculated. Dividend of shares is a percentage of the nominal value. Okay, remember this. So if it is 10%, then 10% of nominal value will be your dividend. So dividend is always calculated on the nominal value. If it is, let's say, 100 shares, then just multiply the nominal value of one share with 100 and write your answer. Okay. So those were the few things I felt they are very important. They can go wrong very easily. So I thought I'll just remind you all of these things. Okay, I shall be sharing more of these points very soon. Okay, very soon my another video on mensuration is going to come up, and another video on all important questions, most expected questions of circles is also going to come up very soon. Thanks all of you. Please subscribe the channel and stay tuned, because now till your exams, videos are going to come up one after the other. Thanks all of you. Bye then.